lot of these for Randwick. We've been doing a lot of them lately all around the place. But I always love coming back to the Randwick area because the girls are lovely to work with, and people seem to appreciate and value what we do. So anyway, here we are, your COVID-19 Digital Certificate. This is what this is all about. So here's our agenda for today, and we're going to talk about what is your COVID-19 Digital Certificate. We're going to look at the MyGov and Medicare logins very quickly. As Nicola said, that's sort of a priori knowledge that we hope people already have a MyGov and a Medicare attached, and you'll be able to find ways to do that if you haven't already done it. We're going to show you how to access your certificate on a PC. We're going to show you how to access it on your smartphone. We're going to show you about downloading the Medicare Express Plus app. We're going to look at accessing your certificate on a smartphone and managing your certificate on a smartphone. And we're going to look at adding to other apps and services, things like the Service New South Wales app. I'm going to talk a little bit also about travellers. Now that we can travel again, we're going to talk about travel in the sense of going, interstate and how that works with the COVID-19 certificate. And we're also going to look at international stuff. A lot of people are very, very interested in the international things because for so long we haven't been able to travel, and suddenly it's sort of a possibility again. Then I'm going to do a live demonstration, including the MyGov website and on the smartphone. I've got some slides in here about Android devices, but I can only demonstrate on an Apple because I simply don't have an Android device. But I do have some information about how you can add things on your Android phone. We're going to talk about what's coming, what's in the pipeline. And we're going to talk about the COVID-19 check-in card. Now, if you don't have a mobile phone, or you're averse to mobile phones, or you don't really fancy the whole deal of doing all this, you can actually apply for a COVID-19 check-in card, which they will mail out to you, like a driver's license, in about 14 days. If you need it before 14 days, you might have to do a bit of research, or watch this video and find out how to do things. Okay, let's get cracking. So what is your digital certificate? Okay, so when you click on proof of, now some of these things I must say before we get there, these things that I'm talking about, if you haven't seen all these things in action, it's going to sound a little bit difficult to comprehend, but just try to listen in, try to sort of work out what I'm saying, and then I'm going to go to the actual devices and the websites and show you exactly how this works and what it looks like. So when you click on proof of COVID-19 vaccination, you'll see two boxes. You'll see view the immunization history, which allows you to see all your vaccinations, including influenza and shots, and it also shows you the next vaccinations you are eligible for. And you'll get to see view the you'll get to see view COVID-19 digital certificate, which allows you to open the A4 PDF. You can print that out and save it to your computer. And finally, you can request a COVID-19 certificate, which allows you to request your passport details to be added to your certificate for international travel. Now, I've got a whole lot of stuff about passports and international travel coming up, so don't worry about that too much for now. And that will allow immigration services in destination countries to scan the QR code that comes with this, which is linked to your passport to verify that it's you. Okay, so proof of vaccination, it's available after both doses. In some circumstances, you can get a digital certificate after one, especially when it comes to international travel. You can get a list of the things that you've been vaccinated for, including one COVID shot. But that will depend on your destination and how that's received at the other end. So sometimes it seems a little bit hypocritical. It seems a bit sort of warped and twisted, but you can get a digital certificate after one dose, but it doesn't mean that you've got full immunity. So it shows your vaccination status. It features the validity tick. You can see that on the right there. There's the validity tick. Miss Jane Citizen is definitely valid. And it contains the Australian coat of arms, which some people think is hard to forge, but they don't know as much as I know about scanners and taking photographs of things. But we're not going to forge anything. We don't do that. Okay.
So logging into the MyGov Medicare. So on a computer, you would go to that address, mygov.au. I think that's actually wrong. I better check that. I don't think there's a full stop between the my and the gov. Apologies for
Ian,
that.
I'll check it and I'll pop a link out now in the chat.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you. And then you'll have to enter your email address and password and sign in. And then you'll receive a code on your smartphone, which you'll have to put into the app. Okay. So to access your digital certificate or immunisation history, you need to log into MyGov and then into Medicare. Now, this is one of the things that really, really confuses people. I mean, people might say to you, why can't you just log into Medicare in the first place? Well, it's sort of the way they've set it up. So you actually have to enter Medicare through MyGov. And the great thing is that when you log into MyGov, there's often a little shortcut that says, this way, if you want to do your vaccination stuff, if you want to do your digital COVID certificate. So that's really handy. Now, if you're not eligible for Medicare, you will need what's called an individual healthcare identifier. If you don't already have an IHI, you can apply for one and link it using the individual healthcare identifier service through MyGov. If you can't get proof online, your vaccination provider can actually print your immunisation history statement or COVID-19 digital certificate for you. That's if they're not too busy. You probably have to pay a GP, a single fee to go in and have a short consultation about that. And you can also call the Australian Immunisation Register, and I'll give you a number here. It's 1800 653 809 to request your statement by post. Okay. Right. Okay. So access your certificate on a PC. This is what I was talking about before. There's that fabulous little shortcut. Whenever you see a shortcut, grab it. Because you're going to have to go to Medicare anyway. So you're in MyGov website and it says view immunisation history statement and view COVID-19 digital certificate and request a certificate. Now the thing is, once you've been vaccinated, this goes up to the register. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's AIR. I'll talk about that in a minute anyway. And so it's ready and waiting for you. So provided you've got a Medicare card, that should be all happening for you. So view immunisation history statement, view COVID-19 digital certificate, and request a certificate. Now the difference between these here, request a certificate is about international stuff. It's about requesting a certificate that you can show when you get on the plane and all that sort of stuff. And view your COVID-19 digital certificate is exactly that. And once you've viewed it, you can print it or upload it or whatever. And your immunisation history statement comes as a PDF that's also printable. All right, now, so you see the two boxes. View the immunisation history allows you to see all your vaccinations, including influenza. View the COVID-19 digital certificate allows you to open the PDF, print it out, save it to your computer. Request a certificate allows you to request your passport details to be added to your certificate for international travel. This will allow immigration services in destination countries to scan the QR code on your certificate, which is linked to your passport to verify that it's you. Okay, stay with me. All right, access on your smartphone. Okay, so what I've just been showing you is how you do it on a computer, and now I'm going to show you how you do it on a smartphone. Now, I thought this was a misprint down here, this little bit of colours, but that's actually the icon. I don't know what, there's a little rainbow under here everywhere, but that's what they do, and who can ever question the government? I must say that the first thing the government did, the COVID application app that we're all asked to download, was a complete disaster, and people lost a lot of faith. But I must say they've really got their act together with this this Medicare Express Plus app. It really is wonderful. And one of the things I love most about it is that if something hasn't happened, it doesn't just disappear. It tells you what's gone wrong. It says, look, this hasn't worked for this reason. So things have improved an awful lot. So okay, so benefits of using the Express Plus Medicare app: portability, smartphone, store the digital certificate on a portable device, easy access at any time. Now, you'll see when we go to the device later that it gives you the option to store it in a kind of offline way. And the login page for the Medicare Express Plus app has the first thing you see when you open, and I'll show you this on the phone when we get to the phone, the first thing that you see is look at offline certificates. And I've got my passport thing in there, I've got my international certificate, and I've got my COVID certificate sitting there waiting. All right. Now, I should say also, just generally, there are so many ways now to skin the cat, and we're sort of looking at all of them. But you can add this thing to your digital wallet. You can store it as a picture on your phone, and now you can do things like add your COVID certificate to your Service New South Wales app, so that when you check in, it comes up with the tick saying that you're fully vaccinated. And that took me a little while, but I'm pleased to say that I got there in the end. It wasn't easy, but I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to show you some of the pain that to help you avoid some of the pain that I went through. Okie dokie now. So you can store offline items, as I just said. You can manage your Medicare account if you really want to. I had a look at that. You can look at your transaction history, all the refunds that you've had on your Medicare, and all sorts of kind of like a condensed version of everything that Medicare does, really. And you can also, it shows you a picture of your Medicare card. So, you know, sometimes you go to, I don't know, the doctor or the GP or something, and they say, have you got your Medicare card? And you've left it at home, or you've left your wallet at home because your phone's so handy now for shopping that you don't bother taking it. Well, now your Medicare card is stored in this little app as a photo. So that's very handy. That's perfectly valid to use that when you're going in to see the GP and so on and so forth. Okay. Oh, that's terrific. There we are. So access on your smartphone. So you're going to log in entering a PIN code. Now, one of the more confusing things about this is when you're bouncing around between the MyGov app and the Medicare app, you will be asked to create a PIN. Sometimes they do it with double factor verification. They will send you a code, but now in the most recent iteration of these things, they want you to have a PIN. So they'll ask you to create a PIN at some stage, and you will enter your PIN code, and then you'll put it in that red box. Isn't that cute? And then you will select proof of identification. Okay. And so on and so forth. So let's have a look over here. Okay. So this is just the sort of app, and I'm going to show you this. So don't be too worried about this if it doesn't make any sense while I'm sort of babbling on here. But I will show you exactly how this works. So this is just the Medicare app itself, but you're going to choose over here. These are the important ones for us today. We're going to look at view immunization history statement. And if you don't have a COVID-19 certificate, this won't come up. If you have got a COVID-19 certificate ready and waiting for you, it will say view COVID-19 digital certificate, and it will say share with the check-in app. Now, these two are really important, especially share with the check-in app, because what that means, at the moment, you go along to the restaurant or the nightclub or whatever it is, and you click on, you don't click, you get your camera and you hover your camera over the QR code, and it takes you off to Service New South Wales and you can check in. Now, when you do that, when you hover over the code, it comes up with a tick to say that you're fully immunized, and that's what you show people. It's one of the things that you can show people. In fact, there are about 5 different ways you can now show people that you've been double vaccinated. So, yeah, so there you go. Okay. Oh, right. These are little things I forget. Animations, proof of vaccinations. So just backtracking a little bit, after you've put your PIN number in, you come to this choice here of proof of vaccinations. And that's, of course, what you want, which leads to the slide that I was just talking about. So that's how that works. Okay, there we go. And we talked about those things as well. Oh, this is intimidating looking, but it's not really. The point of this slide is to demonstrate that the Medicare app is actually the central app, even though you have to go to MyGov to get there in the first place and set it all up. Once you've got it set up, that's the center. So it allows you to do things like put your digital certificate on in your Apple Wallet, in your Google Pay app, in your Australian passport,
And the fabulous thing with Apple is there's always a little up box which allows you to share it by email or text, or all the usual ways that you can share something on an Apple iPhone. That's the Android share options thing, and these are the service apps. I'll talk a little bit about service apps later and why it's not a bad idea to have more than one. Of course, there's only one for New South Wales, but I was really thrilled when my phone, apropos of nothing, without me asking, asked if I'd like to, have my Service Victoria app added to my COVID-19 sort of details, and that's great. I'm not planning to go to Victoria, but the reason it's there is because I put a lot of different apps on my phone. I used to teach QR codes all over the country, so I needed all the different apps. But it's really important, I should say it now in case I forget to say it later, it's really, really important to keep your Service New South Wales or Service Victoria apps up to date. It's important to keep your operating system up to date, but at the moment, the service apps are changing so rapidly. I had a little problem with this. I was trying to connect my digital certificate through this little bloke here in his red arrow to my New South Wales service app, Service New South Wales, and it just wasn't working. And I really thought I was up to date because I had updated the app about 3 days before, but in those 3 days it had a new iteration that was required. Now that's not going to happen to everybody, but if it does happen, if you have problems, that's a really good thing to do. Refresh and update your service application, and that'll make a big difference. Okay.
Ian, a bit later when you show us your phone, perhaps you could show people how they can go into their app store, and if they haven't already got it, to set to automatic updates,
Yep.
just to remind some people, a lot of people forget about that, and
Yep.
it is really important.
Sure, I'll just make a wee note. Automatic updates, that's true. That's very true. Updates. Although some people don't like automatic updates because, it's updating all the time. But look, we'll get there. We'll talk about that. That's fine. Okay. So managing on your smartphone. All right. So you can choose, as I mentioned before, a few different options for managing your digital certificate. As we saw in the last slide, Services New South Wales and Victoria from the 11th of October, I guess that's a couple of weeks ago now, we're able to add it to the service app so that you can check in and show proof of vaccination at one and the same time. In the Apple Pay Wallet app on an iPhone from the digital certificate screen, you'll see the option to add to the Apple Wallet. Select that and follow the easy steps. As I said before, if you happen to be somewhere and it says, would you like to add this to the Apple Wallet, and you know what an Apple Wallet is, or you know what a Google Pay app is, then do it. Just take the shortcut there and then, and that's probably the easiest way. So Google Pay on Android, you will see the option to add to Google Pay. Select that and follow the easy steps. Share from the digital certificate screen. Selecting share enables you to email. That's this thing here. Send by SMS and print. All the usual things that you can do with that. And passport. Now, passport's really interesting, and coming up for a discussion on passports, and I really have to watch my time because I can get quite carried away with the topic of passports, but we'll see how we go, because I really want to share these things with you on the screens, because that's where you actually learn, I think. It's one thing having a bunch of PowerPoint slides, but it's another thing entirely seeing a phone or a computer in action as it does all this. So you can now apply to have your passport details added to your COVID-19 digital certificate for international travel. Okay, so the way that works is you enter your passport number, you enter the expiry date, you review that your details are correct, and you submit, and this comes back. Now, the thing about this is it's really important, obviously, to get the passport number right, and I suggest when it asks you to put the expiry date of your passport, here it is, a beautiful Australian passport that you can't see because I'm in the Kimberley. There you are. It's my beautiful passport. It's only a couple of years old. I'm hoping it lasts for a bit longer. When you enter the expiry date, use the drop-down calendar because this is a really information critical application, and unless things are absolutely right, it's going to say rack off noddy, we don't want you. So things like your name, when you put your name in, you can see it says Brown Helen Joy. She's a colleague of mine who made this slide sheet. She's got Helen Joy Brown. Now, like Helen, I did the same thing. My name's Ian James Cuthbertson, and I put J because it's always in my head that that's my middle. I just put J, and and it didn't work, and I got error messages and all that sort of stuff. And when I tried it again with the right details and in the right case, you can see that the names here are in uppercase. Make sure you put your number in uppercase. And it sounds pernickety, it sounds ridiculous, but it just makes for a much more seamless experience when you do things like that.
So Ian, that's in the Medicare app. Is that
in the Medicare,
where you are?
That's right. Yeah. That was that choice we had before about when you choose to get a certificate. See if I can find it quickly. There. No, it's not there at all. It's not there. It's not there. I hate animations. I really don't like them. There. Request a certificate in the My Government website.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. So when you've requested a certificate, that's all about the passport business. I'll just quickly run through this again. Animations, honestly. Okay. All right. So that's where we're up to. Now, this comes back. That QR code that you can see there, that is your QR code. That's very specific to you. And what that does, believe it or not, that's connected to what is it? The DPP? No, it's not the DPP. That's the Department of Public Prosecutors. Come on, Ian, snap out of it. DFAT is the phrase I'm after. That's connected to DFAT. They say they don't keep it on their database, but it's not the kind of QR code that you can just scan, and it's a very specific scanner that has all kinds of information about Australian passports and things like that. Now, one of the once you've done this, that's what comes back. When you say I want my international vaccination certificate, you can see it says International COVID-19 Vaccination Certificate. That's what you travel with. Now, you would think that given that MyGov is responsible for passports, you would think that if you filled all this out properly, that it would actually behind the scenes go into your passport the way a visa does. But the truth is it doesn't. At this stage, it doesn't. So they're completely separate documents, and this confuses the hell out of people. So you can add this to your app, and I'll show you where that is later. But you can also print it out and take it with you. The problem with printing it out and taking it with you when you go overseas is that if this code gets a bit grubby, it won't work properly, and you don't want to be stranded somewhere, you know, in the Philippines or something. They won't let you in because you've got a grubby card. So you could print it and laminate it. That's not a bad idea, but better is to put it onto your smartphone Medicare app. And I'll show you how all that goes in a minute. Now, I just want to read you a couple of things about passports while we've got a little bit of time up our sleeves. And so the QR code protects against forgery in the same way as the chip in your passport. It's in a format called VDS-NC, which the International Civil Aviation Organization has specified as its worldwide standard for digital vaccination. Authorities can verify that your certificate is true and unaltered by checking the QR code against the country signing certificate public key that secures Australian passports. One way they do this is by using an Australian government app, blah, blah. Your certificate uses the same digital security technology as the chip in a passport. Your privacy is protected. It says that DFAT purges this information once you've sort of signed up. Is my international COVID-19 vaccination certificate linked to a database? And they say no. And it says passports.gov.au. Authorities anywhere in the world can authenticate your international certificate offline without connecting to an Australian government database. That's the whole point of this QR code. They don't need to be connected to Australia to verify that you are who you say you are and that you've had your vaccinations. This is what I was talking about. Is my certificate recorded on my passport chip? No. Although it contains your passport number and uses the same verification technology as your passport chip, your certificate is separate to your passport.
When you get a certificate, nothing happens to your passport. And so I'm saying that again because I think that's really important. Don't assume that because you've done all this that your passport's ready to rock. It's not. They're separate documents. Does my certificate go into my passport? To prove that you're the rightful holder of your certificate, you'll generally need to show it together with your passport. But your certificate and your passport are separate documents. Okay, how can I test if my international COVID-19 vaccination certificate works? Well, if you want to, you can download a free app called the VDS NC Checker. I wouldn't bother. I'd just take a copy of it with you in the most pristine digital way, which is through the Medicare app on your phone. And you don't even have to log in. That's why these things are available from the Medicare Plus app as offline data, because you may not be connected to Wi-Fi when you arrive somewhere. And that would be really, really cumbersome if you had to get online to show this, and that's why it's offline. So I'll show you the login page of the phone when we get there, and I'll show you how this works. And it's offline completely. It lives on your phone as long as your phone is charged up, which is sort of another issue. A lot of the planes have little USB ports now, so you can charge your phone on the way, but it's a lot easier to charge your phone than to get online in a foreign country where you don't speak the language and you don't know what's going on. Okay, anyone who can get an international certificate, anyone with COVID-19 vaccinations registered on the Australian Immunisation Register and who has a valid passport. If you are vaccinated in Australia, your vaccinations are automatically registered in the AIR. So that's sort of done for you, that part of it. If you are vaccinated overseas, you can register your vaccination in the Australian Immunisation Register once you return to Australia so that you can get the international certificate. If you need proof of vaccination prior to your return to Australia, you may be able to get a vaccination certificate from the country in which you were vaccinated. So there's a lot of ifs there, you'll notice. It's all fairly new. The world is just coming to grips with all this, and so are we. So, you do what you can. And so there's a lot of information here, and most of it's probably a little bit, interesting. What if you don't have a valid passport? Well, you need to have a valid passport or other travel document to get an international COVID-19 vaccination certificate. If you haven't got an international passport or a passport, an Australian passport, you won't be going anywhere anyway. If you hold multiple passports, each international certificate includes a passport number in your name. When you present the certificate, you'll normally also have to present that passport. So I guess the idea with multiple passports, you can use a different, usually when you go overseas, there's an Australian thing or aliens, or if you're going to England and you're English and you have dual passports, you can still get in the English line, but you'll need your Australian passport to prove all this stuff. So that's good for you to know if you're hopping on the plane, lucky you, to London in the next few weeks. Okay, all right, that's probably as much as we need from there. Just trying to think. These are the sort of things that people often ask me in questions, so I thought I'd get prepared to ask the tricky questions about going overseas. If you've recently recovered from COVID-19, there's not nearly enough information about this. There's stories in the media about people being trapped in their homes after they've had COVID because nobody sort of is prepared to tell them when they're ready to go. So it's a sort of twilight area. It says if you've recently recovered from COVID-19, it may be that you cannot receive a COVID-19 vaccination for a period of time following your recovery. I didn't know that till right now. The international certificate is a verifiable record of your COVID-19 vaccination history. It is not designed to be used in circumstances where you can't receive the COVID-19 vaccination for health reasons. In this situation, you'll need to seek advice from your airline and your destination country about the documentation they require. You may be asked to provide a letter from your doctor certifying that you can't receive the COVID-19 vaccination for health reasons. Okay? All right. Right. So, and it goes on and on. There's 15 pages of this. I'm just going to cut to the chase. And so, fully vaccinated Australians will soon be eligible for international travel without first seeking an exemption. The government has announced that Australian citizens or permanent residents aged 12 and over who have received 2 doses of a recognised vaccine will be able to travel without needing an exemption. This could start sometime in November, but there will be more information provided soon. Children under 12 and those who cannot be vaccinated will also be able to travel overseas without an exemption. Australian citizens and permanent residents who do not meet the eligibility requirements must continue to follow the current border processing when leaving Australia or coming to Australia. Evidence of vaccination. So, you're still going to have to prove this, and this is why it's very, very important to get right on with this, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's enough about passports for now. I'll show you some important things. Now, this is me. You can see this little tick here. This is adding to a services app. Now, I found this much harder than it should have been, and I'm reasonably experienced. I've been doing technology for a long time. But as I said, I updated the the New South Wales Services app, and it went through like a dream. So the vaccination validity tech is visible, and there it is, and check-in is visible. So this comes up actually before you check in. You see it says continue here. This comes up first. So if you're going to show it to somebody, show it before you check in. If there's somebody standing there saying, can I see your vaccination certificate? You could show it to them in your wallet. You could show it to them in the Medicare app, or you could show it to them this way. You can just click on that and it will open. All right. Okie dokie. Right. Now, this is about adding it. Now, this is within the Medicare app, and there's a thing that will appear, as I said before, add to Apple Wallet. I've put this red thing in the wrong place, but that actually says add to the Google affair. So they both come up, and obviously if you're using a Google phone to access the Medicare app on your phone, that's what'll come up. If you're using an Apple phone, it'll come up with add to Apple Wallet. I suggest that you do that as soon as you get the opportunity. Just go bang, and over it goes, and then it's in your Apple Wallet, and I'll show you how to access that from my thingy. All right, live demonstration. I guess it's time. I'm going to let me see what I can do here. New share, that's what I want. So I'm going to try and share my phone with you. We might start with the phone, then we'll go to the MyGov app later. Okay. Via AirPlay. Boom, ba boom, boom, ba boom, boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom. Okay, 1 minute. I'm just going to fiddle about here with my.
So, like you said earlier, Ian, everyone needs to be mindful that this information is changing all the time. So, Ian's giving this advice now, but it could change tomorrow or the next day. So it's always worthwhile, and they do upload updates onto Services New South Wales website and whatnot. So yeah, it's just important to note that things do change. So just keep an eye out for updates on news and how things are working in terms of passports and international travel, and keeping all your apps up to date will also keep you in good stead.
Yep. And changing conditions in countries. I mean, England is quite, it's a basket case right now, but I believe their immunisation rates were really quite high, and they were counting on that, and it hasn't worked for them at all. So things can change. It's still a kind of slightly fragile environment that we're living in when it comes to international travel. But anyway, without further ado, this is your little dude here that I'm going to go to. Can you all see the phone?
Yep.
Excellent, fantastic. So that's your little Medicare Express Plus, I think it's called. So before I sign in, you can see down here it says offline items, and I'm going to put my finger right here on offline items, and look at that. Up comes my digital passport for COVID, UBIA, which looks exactly like that. So if I'm standing in the customs queue to get into England, I'm on an Australian passport. I've got my passport in one hand and my phone in the other. And all I have to do, without going online at all, is just go to offline items from what's called the login page. And there they are. So here's my certificate. That's the one that I show in shops and places of that nature. And here's my international one. So that's before I've even logged in. Okay, so I haven't logged in to do that. I think that's terrific. That's really good, because as I said, you might not have Wi-Fi, you might not have any kind of digital data at all, or web type connection when you get there. So I'm going to sign in as me. It's a good idea, isn't it? Okay, now here's my PIN. Interesting to see if the PIN comes up as I put it in. No, you probably can't see that. I'm sure you're all not going to nip in it.
Yeah, you might need to change your PIN.
Okay, so hopefully you'll remember our previous slides. I know it's a bit of a run through, and if you haven't seen the app, this is what the app looks like. I have no current tasks. That's handy. I can make a claim, or I can view my claims history. Now, I did this. I had some heart stuff recently, and all the claims are there. And I thought, well, that's nifty, but we're not here to talk about that today. What we want is proof of vaccinations, and this is my phone live. Okay, so I'll click on proof of vaccinations, and there's two things. Be mindful that if you're going to go here, you actually want this one here. To me, it's slightly badly organized. COVID-19 Digital Certificate, Immunization History Statement, click there and request a certificate. What is the difference? Well, let's go to View History, and there I am. So this is actually the details. So if I want to look at my digital certificate, I do that. And there it is. And what does it say? It says add to Apple Wallet. Yoo-hoo! I've already added it to my Apple Wallet, but if you click that, it will go straight into your Apple Wallet. And all you'll have to do when you're in the supermarket, when you're in a situation where you need your digital certificate, you can just look on that. Okay.
And Ian, if you're in an Android phone, I'm assuming it automatically will have the corresponding
Yep.
functionality for Android in there for you.
Exactly. It says add to Google Pay or Google Play, whatever it is. Google Wallet, I don't know what it's called, but it's the same. I think that was on the slide before, but anyway, we'll stick with the phone for now. So share with check-in app. Now I want you to see this. As I said, I had no problems. It says I've shared my app with Service New South Wales. So Service New South Wales is the app that lies behind all of your check-ins and QR codes and things like that. When you actually go up and hover your camera over a QR code, it opens this app. So I've shared my certificate with Service New South Wales. Now, if there was a problem, I could unlink the certificate and share it again. I'm not going to do that because it was a bit of a nightmare in the first place. And I've noticed that if you do crazy things like that in Zoom meetings, you're just asking for trouble. So we're not going to do that. But look down here, it says choose an app to share your certificate with. And I could choose Service Victoria. And that's because Service Victoria is on my phone and it's ready to be shared. So I could do that, which would be just bloody terrific. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. So let's just go back and proof of vaccinations. I think that's all I can show you there. Yeah, it's okay. So I'll close it all down again and get rid of all this junk and start again. Okay, Medicare. Offline items, we saw those. They're all good. Digital certificate, that's good. Close. Sign in as me. Put my PIN in. I'm not going to do that again. You've all seen it before. So that's about it. Okay. So that's how it works. Now you're going to say to me, well, how did you get there? And I got there. I can show you that on the computer. There's a couple of other things I want to show you in here before we go to the computer. And that is particularly the Apple Wallet, which I think I moved today. There it is. It's just under my face. There's my little doggie. Isn't she gorgeous? So I'm going to click on the wallet here. And the first thing that comes up is my credit card. And here's my certificate. So I'm going to put my thumb right there and up it comes. So I can walk in, even if I don't do any of the other check-ins. I mean, you know, you still have to check in and all that sort of stuff. But if you haven't managed to get it into your service app and it doesn't display as you would like it to, if you've put it into your wallet, you're good to go. Now, you can also take a photograph of it at any time if you know how to take a photograph of your screen, which essentially is holding two buttons at the same time. So if I was going to take a photograph, I'm hoping that you're going to hear the sound now, the sound. There you go. So I've just taken a photograph of it. I can store that in my favorites, in my albums. That's a sort of slow way around. But I guess what I'm trying to make clear is that you can, there are many, many ways to skin the cat. Okay.
Yes, I've been on the door at Lionel Bowen today and we've been checking everybody's certificates and some people have managed to download the PDF, but they don't they can't get it, haven't managed to get it in their phone yet. So they just, if they download that PDF and show it to us on their phone, that's fine. They can come in, saves them having to print a copy out.
That's right. I think if you get anything from this presentation at all, it's that there's lots of ways to do this. And if one way doesn't work for you, there's always another way. Okay. So let us go back to I think we should go to MyGov and see how all this is set up in the first place. I think that's important. So I'm going to go back to New Share, and I'm going to go right here. And I'm hoping that you can now see my PowerPoint presentation.
Yep.
Excellent. That's good. That's working well. That's a bit of a development. Going from one share to the other. That's really improved in Zoom recently. Okay, so I'm going to just somehow get rid of this. No, doesn't want me to do that. Okay, I see you. All right, come on now. What's going on here? Okay, I'm getting lots of error messages here. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but just bear with me. This is what happens from not sleeping for 4 days or something. Okay, let's just pull something up from here. My calendar. There we are. That's better. Okay, so now I can open a new window, and I'm going to go to MyGov. So, did you check on the spelling for me? It is she was right.
Yes.
Yes,
it's got the extra dot.
It's my.gov. Okay, just to confuse everybody, because they're in so much of their language they do it another way. So it's my dot. Come on, Ian, snap out of it. My dot. There it is. There. Okay, suggested sign in. Right. Okay, so here we are. I don't think I'm signed in yet. If you haven't got a MyGov account, this is the place. So I've gone to MyGov. my.gov.au, and here I am. So sign into MyGov, and I can do that, and it will autofill it. And if you haven't, now it's going to send a code to my mobile phone. Whenever you go to MyGov, it really wants to make sure it's you, and the way that it does it is through double identification, verification, and it's kind of important that they do this because it's protecting you. They're making sure that you're you and you're not, me pretending to be you for whatever reason. So they've sent me a code, and I'm going to type that in, and you can see it apparently. No secrets here. This is the 904744. Now these codes that should be mentioned are one-offs. You don't have to remember this code. I've had a few clients scuttling around for pens trying to remember this code. Every time you come to MyGov, it will be a different code. All right, so they will send you one every single.
Might also be worth mentioning, we've had a few patrons who, if they're trying to do all of this like on their phone, it's very challenging when you get a code that's going to time out. Switching from one screen to the next. So yeah, it's sometimes better to do it at a desktop computer and just relax.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in this situation with MyGov. They don't have an app yet. They've got a funny little identity app, but it's not the full Magalia. I think that's the reason that they like people to sort of be comfortable in the space. So I'm just going to click next now, and here's what I was saying before. There's some information up there. Proof of COVID-19 vaccination, go to Medicare. Now, whenever you see a shortcut like this, if you're not sure entirely of what you're doing, trust me, go to Medicare. All right, so let's go to Medicare. Boom, off we go. Get it? Not going to work. Okay, next. Okay, so I'm an Australian passport. Next. I'm not going to. So you can see here, this is why I was fooled. It's already filled this in for me. As I told you before, my middle name is James, and I just filled everything else in and thought, oh, that's okay. It's put it in for me. It must be right. Well, it's not right. You have to put your middle name in if initials aren't worth the bother. Okay, so that's how you would do that. So let's just go back. I hope it will let me go back now. Yes, I want to go back. And view history is where we can see our certificates up here. So there's view my COVID-19 digital certificate as a PDF. Now I can print that out. It's enormous. I can print that out. I made it sort of, when I was sort of having a practice for this, I made it smaller. I can't remember how to do that now. This is an important number. I think we gave you this number before. This is the sort of help number when it all goes to hell. 1-800-653-809, and they'll help you with it. So you can print it from there, as we said before in the slide. Okay, I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint if I can find it. This is actually fairly interesting because we are now able to share our certificates with the New South Wales and Vic Services apps, meaning we can check in and show proof of vaccination at the same time. This situation is fluid and it's changing constantly. There will be more information coming, for example, the possibility of using only one app to be able to check in any state. So far, no info available for other states, but Victoria and Service New South Wales are both ready for it. These are all the other apps that you get. Queensland, Tasmania, CBR, I don't actually know what that is, but let's pretend I didn't even notice that. Okay, so as Nicola was saying earlier, stay tuned for further updates. It's constantly in flux, it's constantly changing. So one more slide, I think. Now, I'm not going to have time because have we got any questions, Nicola? Is there?
Not at this point. Everything's been answered in the session.
Good. All right, well, in that case, I'll just bomb on. Okay, so to enable check-in for people who don't have a smartphone or don't like smartphones, you can go to this particular site and it will allow you to apply for a card like a license. You can see this charming chap here, he's got his card. Or you can print it and download and print the card at home, or a plastic card can be mailed to you. Now, I would suggest if you're going to print it at home and not apply for it, I would laminate it. You know, sometimes you go into libraries, do you have a laminator at your library, Nicola?
No, much to people's disappointment, unfortunately, we don't.
Okay.
But we've had lots of people checking in with these cards, and I don't think they must take too long to send them out because they have the actual cards that have been mailed out from services.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good to know. I'm going to have a look now at that actual site because that's not a bad place for us to go. So we got any questions and then end. So I'm trying to remember the command.
Can I actually do have one question that's hot off the presses? How do you get the digital certificate with the jiggling or the moving kind of animated tick? I'm not quite sure what that means. Is that
an animated tick? Yeah. It's actually just part. I know what you're saying. It's actually just part of things. What it's doing is it's finding it on your phone and getting it organized and then loading it. And when the tick comes up, it means that you're verified and you're vaccinated, but also that it's ready for you to use. So that's just a little animation that happens as part of the wonder of technology with iPhones and so on. I'm going to try a little thing.
So does that just happen when you add it to the app, or is that something that every time you look at it, it's jiggling? I'm just curious myself.
Jiggling.
Sorry.
Yeah, so there's a few different kinds of jiggling. There's an animation that happens with the tick, but if your apps are jiggling, that means that you've held one for too long and it thinks you want to move it about on your phone. I wonder if that's what the question is asking about. So the answer to that is to push the home button or the equivalent of the home button if you don't have a device with a home button, and that will stop the apps from jiggling if that is the question. I'm not sure there. Okay, now I'm going to try something daring here, and it didn't work. That's great.
I know that the tick is animated. If you go into your Service New South Wales app and you've linked and it shows the green bar, which says your proof of vaccination, if you tap that, it goes in and the tick actually is animated, like it draws the tick. Maybe that's what she meant.
Yeah. Don't worry too much about it. It's not something that's going to stop you from using the functionality. Service.newsouthwales.gov.au/COVID, what a mouthful, COVID-check in -card/ Let us pray. Boom, there it is. Create a COVID check-in card. Okay. So this is how you do it. It's a hell of a mouthful, and it sounds like Nicola has already pushed that link out to you. So that's where you go. You go in there and you fill in all this information. You want it by email or you want it by post. Create your check-in card. So it's just a matter of following that down. That wasn't such an exciting place to go anyway, but it is part of the New South Wales, Service New South Wales conglomerate of bits and pieces that they do. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. And we're back. And we're back.
So you can print out that card or order one, but it really relies on the cafe or wherever you're going having a device with a camera in it that reads QR codes. Whereas most places are probably assuming that you do have a phone, and in some ways it might you could get that card, but if you don't have a device, a smartphone, I would advise getting your immunisation statement printed out. I think that's going to be more reliable than the little card. But that's just my opinion from being down on the desk. But it is really useful for, like, we can read it here at the library, but you'll find that smaller places, businesses might not have that availability there.
Yeah, I think there is a visual thing on the card though that shows you that you're immunised, I believe. Anyway, makes no difference. We're running out of time. Look, I'm going to go because Nicola's going to resume things, and I just wanted to thank everybody for their attention today.